So if I understand if we understand how the hackers will, start their attacks, right? So first he'll start with the network, right? So what he'll be doing, he'll be identifying all the, list of IP addresses which belongs to the organization, right? Then, through the various resources. So once he identifies the IP address, he'll start probing those IP addresses to see what ports are open, what services are running in the system. Is there any loopholes in it? Okay. Maybe due to some misconfigurations, also sometimes some of the services will be exposed to the internet. If even if you don't have proper asset inventory or security measures, in the place, maybe because of any one of the reason, if the hackers can able to identify the loopholes, they'll try to first exploit those loopholes to break into the network, right? What I'm trying to say here is network is the first thing, right? Through network you will attackers will try to break into the network and sorry, systems and servers, right? But that is the basic, right? So in our course also, first we'll start with this understanding the hackers mentality, and then we will learn various types of network layer attacks to break into it, and we'll understand how the exploitation works, okay, etc., etc. But nowadays if you see the trend of exploiting the network is going down. Okay? It is always the first step, okay, for an attacker. But if you look into the overall picture, okay, the possibility of exploiting the network and breaking into the systems and servers, the trend is down. The reason is very simple. Almost all the people are aware that okay, the network layer attacks can or could happen. So they are using some sort of a um, network related security measures, like they're using firewalls, okay, or they're using intrusion detection systems or intrusion prevention system, right? uh, Maybe reverse proxies, right? So they're not exposing even their IP addresses, they are even hosting their servers with the various CDN platforms, okay. So because of all this, network security, it's very tough for attacker to break into it, right? Now, what hackers are targeting is, now hackers are targeting the application layer attacks, right? Now, network is become tough, and we have all the network security in the place. Now, what hackers are doing? Okay, maybe let's say you have a web server, right? Where you will run web server, you will run the web server in certain port, right? And that port needs to be exposed to the outside. Even if you have a firewall, even if you have any sort of a security which is implemented, definitely there must be. You have to open that port to the public to access your uh, what can I say? Access your website, right? But if that website, what you have created and hosted in the server is, let's say, not having proper security measures. Let's say developers are not, developed that application by following, let's say, not security best practices. Okay, what's going to happen is, using the port, okay, wherever the application is hosted and running, hackers will identify the application layer vulnerabilities through which they can compromise the complete server. Even they can compromise the other servers which are connected to the same intranet which are not exposed to the outside. Let's say database server. Okay, if you look into the high level architecture of the uh, website and all, right? So this is how it look like, right? This is how it look like you will be having the server, right? So if you know server IP address, you will check, what is the different open ports are running. If there is any open ports rather than 8443 are open and they're vulnerable, we'll try to attack on it, right? But if you have a firewall in between, okay, which is only allowing you to access the port 80 or 443 for the web traffic, now hacker will try to identify the vulnerabilities in the web application itself, right? Through that web application, he will compromise this complete server. I mean, if there is any vulnerabilities are there, and even he will try to communicate and compromise other backend servers which are not directly exposed to the outside. So what I'm trying to tell you is web security is also very, very important, right? So I'll just, make you understand the same thing with one example, okay, through which how we can able to, you know, get the shell into the web server. I mean, by exploiting the web-based vulnerability, right? So first, let me give you, what sort of a vulnerability that I'm going to exploit theoretically, and then I'll show you practically how it works, right? Is it clear?
It's clear.
So, okay, so this is my Kali Linux operating system, which I am using it as a attacker system. And I'm starting another system called as a Metasploitable tool. For us, in our case, this is like a server, guys. Okay, this is like a server. So I'm logging into it. So this is my target IP address now. Okay, the one which I can see, right? 10.210.187.166. Okay. So of course, uh, it has a lot of ports open. Uh, 10 dot, sorry. If I perform the Nmap scan, so Nmap is a port scanner, okay, which will help us to check how many ports are open in the specific uh, system or a server. The ports are like the entry points for us for a hacker. So every system will have 0 to 65,535 ports. These are like virtual ports which are used to communicate with the services, not the physical ports what you see in your laptop, right? So, uh, of course, if I want to attack on this ports, I'll start from here, right? What is running in port number 21? Um, is it having any kind of vulnerabilities? Then from there, I'll start attacking on it. So that's a different case. But now my target is to go with this port 80. Okay, port 80 is like HTTP. So how do we access the HTTP? You open your browser and then just access this. I mean, it is not having any specific domain, so we just need to access this through IP address only. Okay, I'm accessing the port 80. So here we have various web applications, guys, for practice. I'm going with one of the basic application, I can say vulnerable application. Okay. So here only we are going to practice some of the application related attacks. Even we have the online labs as well. So here you can use this credentials to log in. Default credentials like and password. Not open. Then I have changed the password. Let me try with different ones. I don't know. Um, so okay, let's try to just a minute.
This means the for that IP address, these much of applications are pointing, right?
Oh, sorry.
Uh, these applications are pointing to that 166 IP address.
Yeah, correct. So it's basically directly I'm accessing through server IP address. So usually, so if you have some application running in some server, they will make you, I mean, they'll configure with the domain name, right?
Yeah.
So when you access the domain name, that will be pointing to the IP address only. Because servers will only understand the IP addresses, right? They don't understand the domain names. So this IP address and domain name will be mapped in the DNS. So when you type your domain name, the DNS will convert that into IP, and then you'll be able to see that application loading in your browser. I'll do one thing. I'll just quickly. Let me try to reset the password. Instead of this, right, to make you just confused, I'll delete this. I'll install new one. So I'm just again reinstalling the complete Metasploitable to server um, because I lost the password. You cannot override the machine. Is there any other machine with this name? Basically, there was another machine previously with the same name. Okay. When I tried to give that, it didn't take. This is all installation, configuration, how to do it. Okay. All these things we'll be learning it. Um, Now it got extracted. Yeah, sure. Okay, I think takes some time, okay, because a lot of systems are created with the same name and okay. So no worries. We'll go with the other or maybe some other vulnerability, right? So today actually I thought of showing you the malicious file upload vulnerability. Okay. So what is mean by malicious file upload vulnerability is like nowadays it's very common that most of the applications have this a file upload feature, correct? So they may expect you to upload some images or PDF or some sort of a documents, right? So it's very common nowadays. Like if you go to if your profile also, so they'll ask you to upload your profile image. So maybe instead of profile image, as an attacker, if you can able to upload some sort of you know malicious file in it, okay, which means like if you're uploading instead of photo, if it is accepting it, the malicious file will actually uh, be stored into the server, right? So once it got stored into the server, hackers will find a way to execute that malicious file, whatever is actually stored into the server, through which they will try to take the complete access to the server, right? So that's what the example I just thought of, uh, show you today. If that is not working, maybe we can quickly go with something else, right? Okay, so I'll show you SQL injection, guys. Okay. I'll show you SQL injection. See, let's understand this, right? So when you go to any application, the very first which will ask you to yeah, so which will ask you to basically enter your username and password. Okay, I mean we call that as an authentication, right? So here I am taking one application called as a demo.testfile.net. Even you can also try this, okay, with me, right? You can also try this with me. So this application has a login page. Okay, here is the login page, guys. It's like some kind of a demo banking application, I can say, right? So let's understand here. When you give your username and password into this application, what's going to happen? Hmm? So what's going to happen is when you give your username and password into the application, like here, I mean, we are the users, right? So we are the users. We are accessing this website from the web server to our browser. And now, let's say I'm putting my credentials over here. Okay, I'm sending my credentials, like the username and password, right? So what this web server does, it sends the SQL query, okay, to the backend database to see if that user is present or not. Okay, I mean if that given username is correct or not, it will run some sort of a query in the backend, and depending on the response of this SQL database, the server takes the action. Like either it allows you to log in into the application, or it will throw you some sort of error to you, right? See, so suppose let's say I'm just entering some sort of random credentials, okay? Like I'm just entering, Rashid, right? So when I give this shake and shake, some random username and password in the backend, okay, if we understand what happened is, okay, our username and the passwords, okay, went to the uh, the username and password, okay, went to the server query. Okay, it is called the error. Okay, it says that login is failed. We are sorry, but the username and password is not found in our system. Right? I mean, we are not having the direct access to communicate with the database, right? But through the application, okay, whatever the username that we are giving and password that we are giving, it's going to server. Server is making a request to that, and it's checking, according to the response. It is, we can see the response or error here, right? Which means whenever you give this, whenever you give something over here to these two parameters like username and password, it actually, I mean, our input is actually going into the SQL queries, and the SQL queries are being executed into the server. Correct. This is what it is happening. But if there is no proper security measures here, I mean to say, if there is no proper input validation, so our username and password is going into the query, okay? But if they are not doing any sort of input validations, or there is something called parameterized statements, or proper sanitization is not there, whatever we write, if it is included in the SQL queries, attackers can write their own SQL malicious queries over here, and server may execute it into the um, database, right? To see that, and to understand that, okay, whether my input is going into the directly into the SQL query, okay, or not, are they having any kind of a security or not? What I'll do, I'll just with the same name, okay, so I'll just add something called a single quote. Okay, I'm just adding a single quote over here. You can see, okay, I'm just adding a single quote, right? And I'm clicking on login. So when I give the single quote, this time instead of a normal error like login failed error, I got syntax error. Okay. And if I understand why the syntax error this time when I add a single quote, okay, which means my given input is actually getting executed a part of the SQL query, and the server didn't understand what is the single quote and we got this error. Okay. See, um, so this will look something like this. Uh, Okay. It's going to look something like this. Right? This is how the backend query will look like. I mean, here is my username. Um, Here is my username and here is my password. But when you give a single quote, it's also executing part of a query, and the server is basically not understanding what is a single quote and it's throwing the error, which means our input is directly getting executed a part of the query, right? So when you see the error, right, like this, it's basically called as a, I mean, it's vulnerable for the SQL error-based, right, error-based SQL injection. And with the same name, okay, now if I can able to write some sort of a very basic payload like single quote or one equal to one hyphen hyphen space, okay. So it's like what I'm doing is if this user is not present, okay, go with the OR statement, and I'm making one equal to one. So one equal to one is basically a true statement. Okay. So database will understand the, of course, true and false values. So I am only making or writing a true statement over here, guys. Right? When I say I am only making uh, true statement, one equal to one is always true, or something equal to something is always true. If this username is not present, okay, go with the one equal to one, it's true. And I'm not even putting what password, you know, uh, I'm not even checking what password I'm entering over here, right? And what about this hyphen hyphen? See, last time the error is created. Okay, the reason, if you understand, why this error is created, because of, see, developers might be already having the two single quotes like this. When you add another single quote, it creates an error, right? So to fix that error, okay, to fix that error, what I'm doing is I am actually, okay, to fix that error, I am actually writing something like hyphen hyphen space. So it's basically ignore or comment the rest of the query like this. So even if you have another single quote or the password field or whatever the query it is, it's basically going to comment out. It's not going to check, right? So this is a kind of a true statement I am writing it. Okay, if this user is not present, okay, let's go with the one equal to one, right? And if I click on login, see, I was able to log in as an administrator because admin is the first user in most of the databases, right? Without having the valid username and password, I was able to log in into this specific application just because of exploiting an SQL injection vulnerability by giving a very basic payload, right? You understand? See now, even I can capture that request into the different tools like Verb Suite. I can do manual exploitation. I can dump all the database from. I can dump all the data from the database as well. Okay, just I need to know the further advanced SQL injection payloads or the tools through which I can dump complete database from the a database. Okay. So here the vulnerability is not in the database. Here the vulnerability is in the application which is interacting with the database, right? And the root cause of this vulnerability is, developers are not aware about, maybe not aware about this kind of SQL injection attacks. They might be created this login page by thinking that users may maybe just come and enter their username and password, but has a malicious intention attacker always try to inject such type of malicious queries into it, and then he will exploit the vulnerabilities like this. You understand? Hmm? Yeah, it's a very big topic, but I just thought of explaining to you um, by showing some sort of a demo, okay, to just to make you understand how the application layer vulnerabilities can be exploited to get the access of the server or maybe the backend systems like databases. Are you clear now? Why the network is considered as a basic, and why we need to focus more towards the application security? Because of course, growing attacks into this specific domain. All the companies, of course, when they are developing any applications, right, they need the application security professional who can help them to take care all of these issues in the early stage, like in the development phase itself. Right. So this is a like small demo, I can say, right? Yeah. Now, if you have some questions, I'll take up.